Hello and welcome to this special show. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. Two COVID-19 waves have made us all more aware of just how precious our health is and how important it is to prevent illness as well as be better prepared for future COVID waves. As India battled the first two COVID waves, what was perhaps overlooked was the extent to which the pandemic was disrupting people's lives and the effect this was having on both their physical and their mental health. Now, metabolic problems took center stage as we realized COVID and diabetes and COVID and heart disease had a bi-directional relationship. An existing diabetes or cardiovascular condition made one more susceptible to COVID, but also having COVID meant there could be newly diagnosed diabetes and hypertension also. Medicines used to treat COVID have also taken their toll. There are a lot of things we now need to be aware of, and more than ever, it is time to equip ourselves with information, take precautions and stay prepared. Well, this show hopes to do exactly that. We have medical experts joining us to answer all your questions and much, much more. Dr. Mala Dharmalingam, MD, DM, AIIMS and Senior Consultant Endocrinologist and Diabetologist, Senior Professor of the MS Ramaya Medical College in Bengaluru is with us. Dr. Prashant Kumar Sahu, MD Medicine, DM Cardiology and Director Cardiology of Apollo Hospitals, Bhubaneswar, is also with us today. Thank you very much, doctors, for being here on the program with us. Dr. Dharmalingam, let me begin by asking you, do medicines that are used to treat viral infection actually cause hyperglycemia or high blood sugar? And if yes, then after getting cured from a particular viral infection, whether COVID or otherwise, do blood sugar levels actually come back to normal, or do we need medication in order to bring them down to acceptable levels?
Yes, in COVID-19, the medications used do increase blood glucose. Apart from the medication, the COVID-19 itself increases blood glucose by an infection-mediated immune reaction. To combat this immune reaction, there are some medications used like the glucocorticoids, or what we commonly call steroids. Now, these steroids control the COVID virus surge, but at the same time can cause diabetes. It can happen that those who are already diabetic can become worse or aggravate their blood glucose levels, or there may be new onset diabetes in people who did not know that they were diabetic. So both of this can happen with steroids, because there are certain actions that the steroids does, that it increases the insulin resistance or the insulin working capacity of the person, and the liver also throws out more glucose, and that is why the sugars go up. Fortunately, once the steroids are tapered and stopped, the blood glucose does come down or even disappears in new onset diabetes. However, this has to be carefully monitored, because a very good blood glucose control is very important for the COVID control. So yes, the steroids do increase glucose, but the nice thing is they would also recover. But of course, the guidelines are, even if you're not diabetic post-COVID, every 3 months you should check, because new onset diabetes, because of beta cell destruction, that the beta cell are the cells of the pancreas which produce insulin, can also get damaged and cause diabetes. So every 3 months, one should get their blood glucose checked, at least for the first year.
So every 3 months, it's good to know that that's the frequency with which the checks should be taking place. Dr. Prashant Kumar Sahu, let me bring you in as well. Now, COVID-19 infection and cardiovascular diseases seem to have this sort of bi-directional relationship. If you could explain to our viewers what we mean by that, and how do we address this?
Thank you, Ankita. The COVID-19 infection has seen a surge of cardiovascular diseases also.
Right.
Now, what is most important is that at one time we were debating whether the heart attacks or the coronary artery disease has come down. No, it is basically patients who had cardiovascular disease, they were not keen to visit hospitals because they used to think that possibly these are COVID hospitals and they would get COVID once they visit the hospital. Now, The other problem is that once patient has COVID, there is an increased chance of thrombosis in this patient. They can have thrombosis in the pulmonary arteries, in the coronary arteries, in the brain, or in the peripheral arteries. And once they have thrombosis, these patients present with heart attacks. So we have seen an upsurge of cases, especially the younger masses who have had COVID infection. On top of that, we put these patients on steroids, but the diabetes is exacerbated, and as a result, these patients are more prone to heart diseases. Now, certain practices have been started. For example, most of our people work from home, so their lifestyle modifications are not as per the required norms. As a result, the heart disease chances are high. So it has a bidirectional relationship.
Right. Dr. Dharmalingam, would you say there is a similar bidirectional relationship between COVID and diabetes as well? That yes, people with an existing diabetic condition are more susceptible to COVID-19, but also post-COVID-19, some people have been diagnosed with sort of new onset diabetes as well. And in these situations, you were talking about monitoring blood sugar levels at least every 3 months or so. What should ideal levels be, both in terms of those who've recovered for COVID-19 infections and also target blood sugar levels for newly diagnosed diabetic patients who've recovered from COVID-19 and then been diagnosed with diabetes?
Yes, even diabetes, the relationship is bidirectional. COVID patients get worsening of diabetes, and diabetic patients, not that they get more diabetes, but it can cause the complications, what we call morbidity and mortality. That means the complications and death rate is much more in diabetic patients. So it is important that we should control diabetes in a patient who is either COVID or in this scenario itself, so that they can prevent the COVID to happen. So what should I do, and how much should my blood glucose be? So if you are a young patient, whether it is new onset or already you are having diabetes, the blood glucose should be at 100 to 120, if not 130. That is your fasting plasma glucose. And your postprandial glucose should be between 140 and 180 milligrams per deciliter. So if we have good control, then the complications of COVID coming are much less. And of course, for even a pre-existing diabetes or a new onset, this is the goals. However, if the person is older or has already had some sequelae because of COVID, like Dr. Sahu was saying that they had a myocardial infarction, I would be a little bit more lenient in those patients, because I also want to prevent hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is also very important to prevent. Good control, neither high nor low, is what we are targeting.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Sahu, let me take this in a slightly different direction. We were, in my introduction, I talked about how the psychological distress or the sort of the mental effect of, the pandemic is not something that we've talked about enough. Now, psychological stress has obviously been a very important effect of the lockdown. Now, can you talk to us a little more about this lockdown-induced stress? Does this have a direct linkage then with cardiovascular disease and the risk of cardiovascular disease?
Yes, definitely. The lockdown had a very bad impact on the psychological disorders that were happening. It has affected all strata of life, whether they are from the rural areas or from the urban areas. The first problem that the patients used to face was that they had a financial instability. There was lack of exercise when they used to work from home. They used to take more of junk food. And then there was a fear of loss of job. And all this we know are psychological factors which can aggravate heart disease. So I will always agree to the fact that definitely because of this lockdown effect, most of the individuals were asked to stay inside the house, and there was no other alternative. And in fact, as a result of this, there used to be marital disharmony, there used to be a lot of financial insecurities, and all this had a toll on heart diseases.
Right. We will have to take a very quick break, but when we come back, doctors, we'd like to talk about, the whole effect of working from home, what difference this has made to people's lifestyles, how, what are the things that they should be looking out for, particularly if they're not getting out very much. All of that coming up in just a moment. Do stay tuned. We'll be back in just a bit. Welcome back to our special program where we're taking a far closer look at managing diabetes and hypertension in the light of 2 COVID waves and in the expectation of future COVID waves as well. How do we stay prepared? How do we take the best precautions? How do we manage existing conditions? We'll be talking about all of that with our medical experts on the program. Dr. Mala Dharmalingam is with us. Dr. Mala Dharmalingam, let me ask you, particularly in the context of working from home, obviously that's given a certain degree of convenience and flexibility to a lot of people. They're working perhaps more hours than before. Earlier, there used to be a certain amount of commuting, perhaps lunch breaks at work. Now, a lot of people, because they're at home, are expected to take calls for a longer period of time. From very early in the morning to late at night, there is this sort of expectation, at least, that since they're working from home, they should be available online 24/7. So people are neglecting medications because of this increase in work stress, perhaps neglecting exercise for that reason also. What should a person with diabetes know about adherence to medications, particularly during a pandemic?
It is very true, and literature search has shown that only around 50% of people with diabetes actually adhere to their medications. And as we all know, diabetes is a condition where one has to have a good control to prevent complications. There are many reasons. One is, of course, staying at home causes more stress. There is not only the work at which they have to do the official work, but also the work of children and keeping the house and working because there may not be any maids or help around. So it has become more difficult. So from my side, my advice to all our patients are to talk to your doctor, the relevance of adhering, and even the doctor needs to ask very relevant questions. Are you taking medicine properly? They can have reminders. They can keep, even in their cell phones, reminders to take medication. And most importantly, what you actually said, because they are sitting long hours, there is no exercise. Yeah. And their diet also goes for a toss. So they need to have a very good diet, include lots of vegetables, fruits, water, things like that, and exercise. Now we say sitting is the new smoking. Right. So they walk. We usually say, okay, if you're doing work from home with a computer, every 1 hour go get a glass of water or just move around, talk to people so that, you're not continuously sitting. The other problem that has happened is a financial restraint. So this constraint has caused problems. And so from our side, we also see to this that we give medications that are affordable. The patient should have a good stock in case there's a lockdown and they're not able to go out. They should fill their prescription for at least a month or 2 so that there is no problem. And the doctor should give drugs which have no side effects, which we call durability. Like if I give a medicine, the control should be good for a long period of time. The sugars should not go up and the patient needs to repeatedly come to me. And of course, the patient should not have any low sugars during this regimen of medication. And medication should be kept simple. 1 tablet a day or something like that, not too complicated. You know how a patient feels when they come to a doctor's clinic. They feel, oh my God, what's happening now? Yes. So that kind of scenario should not happen. It's simple, keep it simple and durable. I think that is what, and counsel patients. And patients should have their contact number of their doctors so that they can talk to them anytime about patient's
So a
complications
lot
and
of
as well.
responsibility then, doctor, on the part of the medical professional as well. It clearly is a partnership where the patient also shouldn't feel sort of left alone. But Dr. Sahu, you know, we've heard from Dr. Dharmalingam about how often tests should happen to monitor diabetes and the levels that are ideal. In terms of cardiovascular disease, what tests should be performed regularly to keep a check on whether your heart is healthy, and at what intervals should these checks be performed?
Now, first of all, you should have to know whether you have a family history of heart disease or not.
Okay.
If you have a family history of heart disease, or your parents or your siblings had history of hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemia, or they had body mass index was high, so you have to be extra careful. What we say as know your numbers. So you should know what are the exact figures of your blood pressure, your diabetes, your cholesterol level, and your body mass index. Now the simple test that we suggest is that you get an ECG done and at least get an echo done, and also if required a TMT. Now if these tests are positive, or there is some telltale signs from this test that there is some likelihood of a heart disease, your cardiologist will suggest you to either go for myocardial perfusion study or CT angio or a coronary angio.
Okay, fair enough. Dr. Dharmalingam, what about pregnant women? You know, should pregnant women be taking special care also to manage gestational diabetes at home, especially in, you know, if there is another lockdown in that sense and they can't really access their doctors? You know, should doctor visits be reduced, or how would we go about looking at it in that kind of a scenario?
Yes, gestational diabetes needs to be controlled, and especially women with pregnancy and diabetes are more prone for COVID infection because of the immunological and physical changes that happen with them.
Right.
So we are very careful with them. Their glucose can be monitored as per their choice. They can have a finger stick test of glucose, which we call self-monitoring of blood glucose, or they can have a Pro sensor attached, or any of the Medtronic sensors, and they can get their continuous glucose monitoring also done, which is a very simple way. And today, a blessing is telemedicine, where the visit to the doctor can definitely be reduced, and a lot of consultation and counseling can happen through telemedicine. And of course, again, diet and exercise, not too much can be ever said about this, and this is very important. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I think we talk about it far more than we actually practice it, and that's probably the problem. But Dr. Sahu, a quick follow-up to this, and that's all we'll have time for on this show as well. Are women at a higher risk for heart disease than men? Do younger, physically fit, otherwise women need to worry about heart disease?
Just being physically fit does not make you immune from heart disease.
Okay.
Because we have to know that there are two major factors which causes heart disease. One are the environmental factors and other is the genetic factors. You cannot change genetics. That is the whole thing. So being fit does not necessarily mean that you are free from heart disease, because many of the younger women may be on oral contraceptive pills and their lifestyle may not be good, although they may be fit. So one has to be careful. Even if diabetes is controlled, there are chances that you can have heart disease.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Dharmalingam and Dr. Sahu, for addressing a range of questions. I hope this has really helped our viewers today. Thank you both, and thanks for watching.